The summer sun hung low over Asheville, casting a warm glow on the bustling festival grounds. I stood among the vibrant stalls, surrounded by laughter and the scent of fried dough mingling with the fresh mountain air. My heart sank as I watched my husband, Mark, engrossed in conversation with our children. They were animated, their voices rising above the music that filled the air. I felt like a ghost drifting through a lively scene, unseen and unheard. "Mom, look at this," my daughter shouted, waving a handmade bracelet adorned with colorful beads. I managed to smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. The truth was hard to swallow. In this moment of family joy, I felt more isolated than ever. My role had shifted from partner to spectator, and it stung. As I wandered toward a booth selling local crafts, I overheard snippets of laughter from nearby. My stepson, Jake, was joking with his friends about some inside joke that seemed to exclude me entirely. The warmth of the festival faded as I retreated into my thoughts. Why did it feel like everyone else was part of an exclusive club? "Hey, Grace." Jake's voice broke through my reverie. He approached with an easy smile that reminded me of his late mother, a woman whose shadow lingered over our family dynamics like an unwelcome guest. "Hi there," I replied, forcing cheer into my voice. "Want to check out the art exhibit later?" he asked casually. There was something in his tone that hinted at more than just familial concern. "Sure," I said, surprised by how much I wanted to accept his invitation. As we walked together through the throngs of festival goers, Jake began sharing stories from school and his recent adventures in college. His passion for art mirrored my own youthful dreams of creativity, dreams that had been overshadowed by the responsibilities of adulthood and motherhood. I found myself laughing genuinely for the first time that day when he recounted a mishap involving paint splatters and a clueless professor. The connection felt effortless as we strolled past booths filled with handmade pottery and paintings bursting with color. But as we reached a quieter corner of the festival grounds, Jake's demeanor shifted slightly. He hesitated before pulling out a folded piece of paper from his pocket, a note he had scribbled earlier. "I thought you might like this," he said shyly. I unfolded it carefully. It was an invitation to meet him later at a cafe nearby, just us two, away from prying eyes and family chatter. A thrill coursed through me alongside an unsettling sense of dread. What would people say if they knew? Yet deep down, a longing stirred within me, a desire for connection that had been absent for far too long. "Sounds great," I replied softly, trying to mask my racing heart. As we parted ways to rejoin our family for dinner, uncertainty gnawed at me like a persistent itch. The evening meal was filled with chatter and laughter that only amplified my feelings of invisibility. Mark seemed oblivious to my internal struggle as he regaled everyone with tales from work while our children chimed in enthusiastically. Later that night in our hotel room, and old and creaking under our weight, I lay awake staring at the ceiling while Mark snored softly beside me. The room smelled faintly of cedar and old books, a comforting scent that contrasted sharply with my swirling thoughts about Jake and what lay ahead. The note burned in my pocket as if it were alive, its presence felt both thrilling and dangerous. In those quiet moments before sleep claimed me, I questioned everything. Was it wrong to seek solace in someone so young? Did wanting more from life make me selfish? I closed my eyes tightly against these thoughts but found no peace. Instead, they morphed into visions of what could be, a world where I wasn't just Mark's wife or the kids' mom but simply Grace, alive and vibrant once again. Morning arrived far too soon. Sunlight streamed through the window curtains as birds chirped outside. As we gathered for breakfast downstairs in the cozy dining area filled with local art pieces hanging on the walls, I stole glances at Jake across the room. He caught my eye once or twice, each time sent butterflies fluttering wildly within me. "Are you excited about today?" he asked when we finally found ourselves alone for a moment by the coffee station. "Yes. The art exhibit should be fun," I replied cautiously while pouring myself another cup. His gaze lingered on mine longer than necessary before he nodded thoughtfully as if weighing unspoken words between us. After breakfast ended abruptly when one of our kids spilled juice all over their plate, laughter erupted around us. I felt compelled to escape into fresh air rather than face another round of familial chaos indoors. Jake joined me outside where we wandered toward an open field dotted with colorful tents showcasing local artists' work. The air buzzed with excitement as families explored every corner together while music wafted gently through trees lining pathways leading back toward town square. "I'm glad we can spend time together," Jake said quietly after some moments passed between us under dappled sunlight filtering through leaves overhead. The intimacy felt electric yet innocent somehow despite everything swirling beneath its surface. "Me too," I admitted softly before glancing away nervously toward bustling crowds nearby. Reality loomed larger than ever around us, both threatening to pull us back into mundane lives waiting just beyond reach. A reminder always present hovering close behind every moment shared between us, now tinged bittersweetly by longing left unfulfilled, still lingering just out sightline ahead, waiting patiently until decision made either way inevitably arrives sooner rather than later. The air around us felt charged, as if the very essence of Asheville was conspiring to keep us in this moment. I could hear the distant laughter of festival-goers mingling with the music drifting from nearby tents. Jake shifted slightly, drawing my attention back to him. His eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and something deeper, something that made my heart race. "Do you remember that time we went hiking?" he asked suddenly, breaking the silence that had settled between us. I chuckled softly, the memory flooding back. "You mean when you insisted we take that shortcut and ended up lost for hours?" "Hey, it was an adventure," he shot back playfully, his smile infectious. "We wouldn't have discovered that beautiful waterfall if we hadn't gotten lost." The warmth of nostalgia wrapped around me like a comforting blanket. In that moment, I felt a connection to him that transcended our familial ties. It was strange and exhilarating, yet terrifying all at once. I wanted to laugh and cry simultaneously as old memories resurfaced, moments when I had felt more alive than I had in years. As our laughter faded into a comfortable silence, I caught myself studying him, the way his hair fell across his forehead and how his lips curled into a soft smile. A wave of guilt washed over me as I realized how wrong this all was. But there was something in the way he looked at me that made me feel seen for the first time in ages. "I wish we could just escape all this," Jake murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart skipped at his words. The thought of escaping my reality, a reality where I often felt invisible, was intoxicating. "What would you want to do?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "Anything but this," he replied with a hint of rebellion in his tone. "Just us." I knew it was reckless to entertain such thoughts, yet here we were, two souls yearning for connection amidst familial obligations and expectations. The weight of our situation pressed down on me like lead, but the thrill of our shared secret ignited something within me. Without thinking, I leaned closer to him. The world outside faded away as our gazes locked. There was no turning back now, the moment felt inevitable. Our lips met softly at first, testing the waters before plunging into deeper currents of emotion swirling between us. The kiss sent shockwaves through me, an electric jolt that ignited every nerve ending in my body. It felt both exhilarating and terrifying, as if we were dancing on the edge of a precipice with no safety net below. Suddenly aware of what we had just done, panic surged through me like ice water coursing through my veins. What had we crossed into? My mind raced with thoughts of consequences and betrayal while simultaneously clinging to this fleeting sense of freedom. What have we done? I breathed as I pulled away slightly, fear creeping into my voice. Jake's expression shifted from exhilaration to concern as he searched my face for answers he couldn't find himself. "I don't know," he admitted quietly, running a hand through his hair nervously. The laughter and music from outside seemed distant now, a reminder that life continued beyond this stolen moment between us. Reality crashed back down like a heavy curtain falling over our brief escape from it all. "We can't let anyone find out," I said firmly, though uncertainty lingered in my heart like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave. "Of course not," Jake replied quickly, though there was an edge to his voice, a hint of defiance mixed with fear that mirrored my own feelings perfectly. We both understood the gravity of what lay ahead. This was no longer just innocent fun or shared memories. It had morphed into something far more complicated than either of us anticipated. As we sat in silence processing everything swirling within us, desire battling against reason, I glanced toward the door leading out into the hallway where footsteps echoed faintly behind it. My pulse quickened at the thought of discovery. What would happen if someone walked in now? "We should probably, act normal," Jake suggested awkwardly after several moments stretched between us like an eternity filled with unspoken words hanging heavily in the air around us. I nodded slowly but couldn't shake off how surreal everything felt, the weightiness of our actions tethering me down while simultaneously lifting me up into uncharted territory filled with uncertainty and excitement alike. Just then, there came another knock on our door followed by muffled voices echoing from outside. My husband's unmistakable tone cutting through any lingering sense of calmness left within me like glass shattering against stone surfaces scattered across fragile ground beneath feet now trembling under pressure mounting steadily higher each second ticking away, mercilessly toward inevitable confrontation looming ahead ominously over both parties involved here tonight. "We need to be careful," I whispered urgently before rising from my seat, instinctively straightening myself out as if preparing for battle against forces beyond comprehension threatening everything dear held close until now too tightly, perhaps too tightly indeed. Jake nodded solemnly while glancing toward the door anxiously. Anticipation hung thick in the air between us, charged with tension palpable enough even without words spoken aloud, capturing raw emotions swirling dangerously close, threatening everything built thus far upon fragile foundations, shaking underneath feet unsteady, unsure where paths might lead next depending on choices made soon enough. Either way, whether right wrong neither mattered anymore, only consequences looming ever larger, casting shadows longer darker across futures uncertain, laid bare before eyes wide open staring straight ahead, unwilling look back lest regret seep further deep inside hearts yearning, still searching desperately, seeking solace somewhere safe amid chaos reigning supreme all around them. Here tonight. The air hung heavy with unspoken words as I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart racing. Jake stood across from me, his gaze flickering between the door and my face. The thrill of our recent kiss lingered between us like a charged current, both exhilarating and terrifying. I could feel the weight of our secret pressing down, threatening to crush the fragile connection we had forged in the shadows. "What do we do now?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I shrugged, unable to articulate the tumult of emotions swirling inside me. The guilt gnawed at me relentlessly, each bite a reminder of my vows and the life I had built with my husband. But alongside that guilt was a burgeoning sense of longing, a desire for something more than what my marriage had become. "I don't know," I finally replied, my voice shaky. "I never expected this." Jake stepped closer, his eyes searching mine for answers I didn't have. "Neither did I," he admitted softly. "But it feels real." Real? How could it be real when it was built on deception? Yet, there was an undeniable connection that sparked between us, a warmth that felt foreign yet familiar all at once. Just then, my phone buzzed on the nightstand, shattering the moment like glass shattering against concrete. My heart dropped as I picked it up and glanced at the screen. It was a call from my husband. "Grace," he said when I answered, his tone casual but laced with an underlying tension that set me on edge. "Hey," I replied, forcing cheer into my voice despite the dread pooling in my stomach. "I'm heading home early," he said without preamble. "Traffic's lighter than expected." Panic surged through me as I looked at Jake, whose expression mirrored my own alarm. This was not how this was supposed to go down. We weren't ready for this confrontation. "Okay," I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. What time will you be here? Should be there in about an hour. He paused before adding, I can pick up dinner on the way. Sounds good, I managed to reply before hanging up. My mind raced as reality crashed back in. My husband would be home soon. What are we going to do? Jake asked again, urgency creeping into his voice. I stood up abruptly and began pacing the small room like a caged animal searching for a way out. We can't let him find out, I breathed out harshly. The thought of being caught sent chills down my spine. I know. He took a step back as if trying to create distance between us despite the magnetic pull that still drew us together. We need to act normal, I said finally, though uncertainty clawed at me from within. Just until we figure this out. Jake nodded but didn't move closer again. Instead, he leaned against the wall with arms crossed tightly over his chest. The shift in atmosphere felt palpable. Our secret now felt like a heavy weight tethering us both down. As minutes ticked by painfully slowly, silence enveloped us again until it became unbearable. In an impulsive moment fueled by adrenaline and fear of losing what little time we had left together before everything changed again, I stepped toward him once more and reached for his hand. Our fingers intertwined instinctively as if they belonged together, a perfect fit amid all this chaos surrounding us. Jake. He leaned closer. Our breaths mingled in that small space filled with tension and longing once more as if time stood still around us despite our impending reality crashing down just outside these walls. Our lips met in a fleeting moment where nothing else mattered except that connection. The world outside faded away completely, leaving only us standing there suspended in time, lost within one another's gaze until a loud knock echoed through the hotel room door, jolting both of us back into reality like ice water splashed across skin, waking up dreams too sweet to hold on to any longer than necessary. We broke apart instantly, shock coursing through me like electricity while Jake's face turned pale as he glanced toward where sound had come from. The door held secrets behind its sturdy frame, waiting patiently for moments yet unwritten unfolding just beyond reach. Who is it? Jake hissed quietly, almost inaudibly, but urgency laced through every syllable spoken aloud, breaking through silence thickening around us, suffocatingly close, now threatening everything built thus far upon fragile foundations, shaking beneath feet, unsteady, unsure where paths might lead next, depending on choices made soon enough. Either way, whether right, wrong, neither mattered anymore, only consequences looming ever larger, casting shadows longer, darker across futures uncertain, laid bare before eyes wide open, staring straight ahead, unwilling look back lest regret seep further deep inside, hearts yearning, still searching, desperately seeking solace somewhere safe amid chaos reigning supreme all around them here tonight. It's just me. My husband's voice boomed louder, now cutting through tension like a knife, slashing straight through flesh, leaving wounds raw, exposed, needing tending urgently, or risk infection spreading beyond control into realms unknown, spiraling downward fast without warning, dragging everyone along into darkness, waiting eagerly below, beckoning forth whispers, calling forth truths hidden beneath layers carefully constructed over years past, finally surfacing, demanding attention, no longer able remain buried deep within shadows cast long ago, long forgotten, perhaps too tightly indeed. Let's act normal, I whispered urgently to Jake before taking several steps backward, creating space between us while attempting regain composure, lost moments earlier slipping away, quickly fading into memories lingering behind closed doors, never meant be opened ever again. Not without dire consequences awaiting those who dared venture forth too far, crossing boundaries drawn clearly upon paths traveled, once safe now fraught, danger lurking quietly just outside reach, waiting patiently, biding time until unsuspecting souls wandered too close, unaware, perilous edges awaiting them, ready swallow whole whatever remained intact, leaving nothing behind but echoes, memories fading fast, forgotten, lost forevermore. Another knock sounded louder this time, rattling nerves already stretched thin, fraying edges threatening unravel, completely exposing everything previously hidden beneath surface calm facade, cracking slowly, revealing depths, unknown depths, dangerous depths leading nowhere good. only chaos ensuing, inevitable unraveling spirals descending rapidly downward, spiraling faster until nothing left standing upright, holding firmly ground beneath feet, steady, secure, safe haven turned battlefield instead. Hearts racing wildly, pounding against rib cages, desperate escape routes sought fervently, turning corners blindly, plunging headfirst into abyss, uncharted territory, fraught danger lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently, biding time until unsuspecting souls wandered too close, unaware, perilous edges awaiting them, ready swallow whole whatever remained intact, leaving nothing behind but echoes, memories fading fast, forgotten, lost forevermore. The festival buzzed around us, a vibrant backdrop to our secret. I could hear the laughter of families, the distant strumming of guitars, and the faint scent of fried dough wafting through the air. Yet, amidst this lively atmosphere, a bubble formed around us, an oasis of intimacy that felt both exhilarating and suffocating. "Let's step away for a bit," he suggested, his voice low and conspiratorial. The thrill of being together in this hidden way sent shivers down my spine. I nodded, excitement coursing through me as I glanced around to ensure no one was watching. We slipped into the nearby wooded area, where towering trees shielded us from prying eyes. The sun filtered through the leaves, casting playful shadows on the ground. It was here that I felt truly alive, free from the constraints of my marriage and the roles expected of me as a mother and wife. "I can't believe we're doing this," I said breathlessly, leaning against a tree trunk. My heart raced not only from fear but from an overwhelming sense of liberation. He smiled, that boyish charm lighting up his face. "Neither can I." There was a moment, a heartbeat, where time stood still, and all that existed was us. As we wandered deeper into the woods, we stumbled upon a small clearing filled with wildflowers swaying gently in the breeze. It felt like a secret garden, untouched by reality. We sat on a fallen log, our shoulders brushing against each other as we talked about everything and nothing at all. "I never thought this would happen," he admitted softly, breaking our comfortable silence. "Neither did I," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. But there it was, the unspoken truth hanging between us like an invisible thread binding our fates together. Time slipped away unnoticed until the sun began its descent toward the horizon. The golden light bathed everything in warmth, a perfect moment suspended in time. "Should we head back?" he asked reluctantly. I hesitated. "Just a few more minutes," I breathed out, wanting to savor this fleeting escape for as long as possible. We spent those precious moments sharing stories from our lives, his dreams for the future and my regrets about paths not taken. It felt wrong yet right. Every word exchanged deepened our connection while simultaneously drawing me further away from my reality. As darkness began to cloak the forest, we made our way back toward the festival grounds hand in hand, an innocent gesture that sent electric currents racing through me. The thrill of secrecy enveloped us like a shroud. Every glance exchanged ignited sparks of desire while simultaneously weighing on my conscience. Returning to our hotel room later that night felt surreal. The walls seemed to close in around us as we crossed into that shared space again, the room where boundaries blurred and lines were crossed without hesitation. I turned toward him with uncertainty etched across my face. "What are we doing?" His gaze held mine steady, there was no turning back now. "Whatever feels right." And so it happened. We spent the night together wrapped in each other's arms beneath tangled sheets while whispers danced between us like fireflies illuminating dark corners of our hearts previously hidden away. But even in those moments filled with warmth and passion came thoughts creeping in like shadows at dusk, thoughts laden with guilt and confusion about what lay ahead once morning broke through those curtains separating fantasy from reality. Morning arrived far too quickly. Sunlight streamed through cracks in the curtains casting stripes across our entwined bodies still lost within dreams spun from stolen moments together. But reality loomed just outside waiting patiently for its turn to reclaim me once again. the weight pressing down heavily on my chest, reminding me of promises made long ago, tethering me firmly to another life entirely different than this one, where freedom thrived unrestrained by expectations or obligations. As I lay there staring at him sleeping peacefully beside me, a young man who had unknowingly become both comforter and confessor, I couldn't shake off feelings swirling inside like tempestuous seas threatening to drown any semblance of clarity remaining within me. What would happen when he woke? Would he see things differently? Would regret seep into those innocent eyes, clouding moments shared under starlit skies? I carefully slipped out from under his arm, trying not to wake him. Each movement felt like betrayal against something beautiful created during stolen hours together, but nonetheless necessary for survival outside this bubble crafted solely between us, two souls seeking connection amid chaos surrounding them elsewhere. In quiet contemplation, standing by window gazing out at Asheville waking up slowly beneath pale blue skies dotted with cotton candy clouds, I pondered choices made thus far, questioning whether they truly reflected desires buried deep within, heart yearning for recognition amidst family dynamics suffocating every ounce, individuality left behind over years spent pleasing others instead pursuing passions once held dear before life took unexpected turns, leading down paths untraveled since then. The distant sound of laughter echoed up from below, reminding me how quickly life moved forward regardless if one chose to participate fully or remain stagnant, caught between conflicting desires pulling one direction while heart yearned another entirely different path altogether, leaving traces behind, only memories fading ever so slowly into oblivion. Suddenly footsteps approached, breaking me free from reverie, forcing confrontation, inevitable, looming closer than anticipated before. I turned just as door swung open, revealing familiar figure standing there, expression shifting rapidly between confusion, disbelief, realization dawning upon him, swiftly setting off alarm bells ringing loudly, resonating throughout entire space surrounding us, both trapping within walls built upon secrets whispered, late nights shared together. And then it happened. Everything unraveled before my eyes, leaving nothing intact, standing upright amidst chaos, ensuing spirals descending rapidly downward, spiraling faster until nothing left standing upright, holding firmly ground beneath feet, steady, secure, safe haven turned battlefield instead, hearts racing wildly, pounding against rib cages, desperate escape routes sought fervently, turning corners blindly, plunging headfirst into abyss, uncharted territory, fraught danger lurking just beyond sight, waiting patiently, biding time until unsuspecting souls wandered too close, unaware, perilous edges awaiting them, ready swallow whole whatever remained intact, leaving nothing behind but echoes, memories fading fast, forgotten, lost forevermore. The air in the room felt thick, heavy with unspoken words and the weight of our actions. I could see the confusion etched on his face, a mix of shock and something deeper, perhaps longing. My heart raced as I glanced at the door, knowing that any moment could bring my husband back from his trip. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, amplifying the sense of urgency that enveloped us. "I didn't mean for this to happen," I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. The words hung between us, fragile and raw. He looked at me, his eyes searching mine for understanding. "I know," he replied softly. "But it did happen. And now what?" His question echoed in my mind like a haunting refrain. What now? I had spent years feeling invisible, forgotten in my own life, and here I was, caught in a moment that both thrilled and terrified me. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "We need to think about what this means," I said cautiously. "For both of us." He nodded slowly, but I could see the conflict swirling within him. It mirrored my own turmoil, a mix of desire and guilt that felt like an insatiable storm raging inside me. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed from the hallway outside our room, jolting me back to reality. My heart dropped as panic surged through me. "He's back," I hissed, glancing toward the door. "Grace." His voice called out, cheerful yet oblivious to the chaos brewing within these walls. I looked at my stepson, fear danced in his eyes as he took a step back from me instinctively. We both knew we had crossed lines that should never have been crossed. Act normal, I urged him in a hushed tone as I moved away slightly, trying to compose myself before my husband walked in. The door creaked open slowly, revealing my husband with a bright smile on his face, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside me. "Hey. You two look cozy," he remarked casually as he stepped inside. I forced a smile back at him while internally battling waves of guilt crashing over me like relentless tides. "Just talking about tomorrow's plans," I replied quickly, hoping to deflect any suspicion. "Great. We have so much to see at the festival." He seemed oblivious as he continued chatting about his day, how he had found an amazing local cafe or how he couldn't wait to explore more art galleries with us. As he spoke, I stole glances at my stepson who stood awkwardly beside me, his expression unreadable yet laced with tension. The thrill we had shared moments ago felt like a distant memory now overshadowed by impending reality. "Why don't we all go grab dinner?" my husband suggested after finishing his recounting of the day's events. "I'm starving." "Sounds good," I replied mechanically, forcing enthusiasm into my voice despite feeling utterly drained by everything swirling around us. We made our way downstairs into the bustling atmosphere of the hotel dining area filled with families enjoying their meals together, laughter ringing out from every corner while music played softly in the background. Yet amidst this vibrant scene, an overwhelming sense of isolation wrapped around me like an old coat that no longer fit properly. My husband took charge effortlessly as we settled into our booth, ordering drinks and scanning through menus while trying to engage us both in conversation about our day's adventures. But all I could think about was how close we had come to crossing boundaries that would change everything forever. "Did you have fun today?" he asked his son casually between bites of food. "Yeah," came the reply, a little too quick and devoid of detail as if he were trying hard not to reveal anything more than necessary. I caught his eye briefly across the table. It was enough for an unspoken understanding to pass between us, a silent acknowledgement of what lay beneath our surface interactions. As dinner progressed, moments felt elongated, laughter seemed hollow against the backdrop of secrets waiting just beneath our skin ready to burst forth at any moment. A pressure cooker threatening explosion unless released carefully without drawing attention from others around us. And then there was another twist, an unexpected encounter that rocked me further off balance when an old friend from college unexpectedly walked by our table on her way out with her family. She spotted me instantly and rushed over with excitement lighting up her face like fireworks on New Year's Eve. "Grace. Is that really you?" she exclaimed warmly before pulling me into an enthusiastic embrace filled with nostalgia and memories long past. The kind that reminded me who I used to be before life became entangled in responsibilities and expectations demanding conformity instead of authenticity. "It's so good to see you." I managed through gritted teeth while inwardly wrestling with emotions flooding back all at once. The carefree spirit who once roamed freely now trapped beneath layers upon layers built up over years spent pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. She chatted animatedly about her life now filled with kids and chaos but also joy, a stark contrast against my own feelings swirling around uncertainty surrounding what lay ahead for me personally amidst this complicated web woven tightly around love lost somewhere along the way. My husband introduced himself politely while eyeing her curiously but thankfully didn't interrupt too much during their exchange. It felt like respite even if only temporary reprieve from reality pressing down heavily upon shoulders already burdened beyond measure. Eventually she excused herself after exchanging pleasantries promising we'd catch up soon, but once she left something shifted within me leaving lingering questions behind. Who am I really? What do I want? And just like that familiar weight returned heavier than before crushing down upon chest suffocating breath itself until finally dinner concluded amidst polite smiles masking turmoil roiling underneath surface barely contained. Once outside under starry sky illuminated dimly overhead shadows danced eerily flickering across pavement beneath feet reminding constantly danger lurking just beyond sight waiting patiently biding time until unsuspecting souls wandered too close unaware. perilous edges awaiting them ready swallow whole whatever remained intact, leaving nothing behind but echoes, memories fading fast, forgotten, lost forevermore. As we walked towards our room, silence enveloped us thickly, almost suffocating, choking off any chance for meaningful conversation between three individuals caught tangled together within this complex web woven intricately throughout lives lived side by side, yet worlds apart, separated entirely by choices made along way. Then suddenly realization struck hard, jolting consciousness wide awake again. My husband suspected something amiss. His glances lingering longer than usual, filled with questions unasked, revealing doubts lurking just below surface, waiting patiently, biding time until truth unveiled itself, inevitably leading towards consequences unforeseen yet unavoidable, looming ever closer, threatening everything built thus far. Torn between desire clashing fiercely against loyalty, binding tightly together hearts entwined deep within familial bonds forged through years spent navigating complexities, inherent relationships layered intricately throughout lives intertwined. The weight of unspoken words hung heavily between us, a silent tension that made every shared glance feel charged. My stepson, Alex, seemed lost in thought, his brow furrowed as he stared out the window of our hotel room. The vibrant colors of Asheville's summer festival blurred past, but our reality was far from festive. I could sense the strain in our connection. The thrill of our secret had begun to twist into something more complicated, more fragile. "Grace," he finally said, breaking the silence. "What are we doing?" His voice carried a mix of vulnerability and confusion that struck me deeply. I turned to face him fully, my heart racing at the gravity of his question. I don't know," I admitted softly. "I thought we were just enjoying each other's company." "Enjoying each other's company?" he echoed incredulously, shaking his head slightly. "This isn't just hanging out anymore. It feels like something else." A rush of emotions flooded through me, fear, desire, guilt, all colliding in a chaotic whirlwind. I had sought solace in this connection, a refuge from the loneliness that had crept into my marriage over the years. But now it felt like quicksand pulling me under. "Maybe we should talk about it," I suggested cautiously, not wanting to push him away but needing clarity for both our sakes. He nodded slowly, his expression serious. "Yeah, maybe we should." As we sat down on the edge of the bed, I felt a surge of panic mixed with anticipation. The air between us was thick with unsaid confessions and unacknowledged feelings that had been building since that first kiss we shared, a moment that had sparked everything between us. "I can't stop thinking about what happened," he admitted finally, his eyes searching mine for understanding. "We kissed," I reminded him gently, recalling how unexpected that moment had been, how it had ignited something deep within me that I hadn't even realized was there. "I know," he replied quietly. "But this feels bigger than just a kiss." His words hung in the air like an uninvited guest at a party, uncomfortable and demanding attention. I wanted to tell him how much he meant to me now, how invigorating it felt to be seen by someone after feeling invisible for so long. But guilt gnawed at my insides like a relentless tide. "I've been thinking about my marriage," I confessed hesitantly. "About what's missing?" Alex shifted uneasily beside me as if my admission startled him. "What do you mean?" "It's just, things have changed with my husband." My voice faltered as memories of distant conversations and empty evenings flooded back to me, the moments when love felt more like obligation than passion. "I feel neglected." He looked away for a moment before returning his gaze to me with an intensity that made my heart race again. "Do you think this is worth it? Us?" The question hung heavy between us once again, it felt too loaded for my heart to bear alone. "I don't know what this is anymore." Just then, there was a knock on the door, a sharp sound interrupting our fragile moment and sending both of us into a state of alarm. "Grace? Are you in there?" My husband's voice echoed through the door. Panic surged through my veins as Alex stiffened beside me, his eyes widened with fear mirroring mine. We exchanged frantic glances filled with dread at being caught in this precarious situation. Yes. Just a minute. I called out, struggling to keep my voice steady while adrenaline coursed through me. What's going on? My husband continued from outside the door, concern lacing his tone. Nothing. Just sorting some things out. Alex shifted away from me slightly as if instinctively trying to create distance before being discovered together, a move that felt painfully symbolic of everything we were navigating. Can you hurry up? We're supposed to meet everyone downstairs soon. His voice carried an undercurrent of impatience mixed with worry. I took a deep breath and turned back toward Alex as dread settled heavily in my stomach. Time was slipping away from us like grains of sand through fingers clenched too tightly around them. We need to figure this out, Alex whispered urgently as if sensing how quickly everything could unravel. I know, I replied softly but firmly, my heart racing with both fear and determination now mingling together inside me like fire and ice battling for dominance within my chest. We needed clarity before facing whatever consequences awaited us beyond this room, before life outside these walls reclaimed its hold over us once more, but how could we find answers when everything felt so uncertain? Just then came another sharp knock on the door, a reminder that reality was waiting for us on the other side, an unavoidable truth pressing against our fragile bubble filled with secrets and desires unspoken yet palpable nonetheless. We have to talk later, Alex said quickly as he stood up from the bed and moved toward the window where sunlight streamed through, the warmth contrasting sharply against the chill settling around us both now. Yes, later, I echoed numbly while trying desperately not to let despair seep into every corner of my mind, threatening sanity altogether amidst chaos unfolding rapidly beyond control. With one last look exchanged before he slipped out onto balcony where laughter echoed below mingling seamlessly alongside music drifting through open windows nearby, I knew deep down that whatever conversation awaited would not be easy nor simple by any means. As moments passed feeling endless stretched taut between breaths taken carefully amidst uncertainty looming ever closer, I caught sight once more glancing toward door where shadows danced just beyond threshold separating two worlds colliding head-on destined collide inevitably leaving nothing untouched. And then suddenly realization struck hard jolting consciousness wide awake again, my husband suspected something amiss. His glances lingering longer than usual filled with questions unasked revealing doubts lurking just below surface waiting patiently biding time until truth unveiled itself inevitably leading towards consequences unforeseen yet unavoidable looming ever closer threatening everything built thus far. The tension at dinner hung thick as the air, a palpable silence settling over the table. My husband, James, sat across from me, his brow furrowed in concentration as he poked at his food. The children chatted animatedly about their day, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. I could feel my heart racing, each thump echoing louder than the clinking of cutlery against plates. "Mom, did you see that juggler?" my stepson, Ethan, asked, his eyes sparkling with excitement. I turned to him, forcing a smile as I nodded. The memory of our shared laughter earlier that day felt like a distant dream now. "Yeah, he was great," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's gaze lingered on me for a moment longer than usual before he returned to the conversation with his siblings. A small part of me wished he would reach out again, just to bridge this chasm that had formed between us. As dinner progressed, James's attention shifted back and forth between his plate and me. I could sense his unease, it was as if he could smell the secrets wafting off me like perfume. "Grace," he began cautiously, "is everything okay?" My heart sank at the question. Of course, I lied smoothly, hoping to deflect any further inquiry. But James wasn't convinced. "You seem distant lately." A wave of resentment surged through me. Distant? How could he not see how invisible I felt? Before I could respond, Ethan chimed in again. "Maybe Mom just needs some time alone," he suggested lightly. The words stung more than they should have. Time alone, wasn't that what I had been seeking? But now it felt like an invitation to isolation rather than solace. I'm fine, I snapped unexpectedly, my voice sharper than intended. The sudden change in tone caught everyone off guard. Forks paused mid-air as silence enveloped us once more. James's expression hardened slightly at my outburst while the kids exchanged confused glances. All right then, he said slowly, clearly taken aback by my reaction. The tension hung heavy until dessert arrived, a welcome distraction that allowed us to shift our focus back to mundane matters. But even as we ate cake and ice cream together, I could feel Ethan's eyes on me occasionally, a mixture of concern and something else simmering beneath the surface. Later that evening in our hotel room, a room meant for two but filled with unspoken words, I found myself pacing nervously while Ethan sat on the edge of one bed scrolling through his phone. Grace, he called softly after a moment of silence. Are you okay? I stopped mid-step and turned toward him, caught off guard by his concern. I'm fine, I repeated mechanically but without conviction this time. He looked up from his screen. Those deep brown eyes held an intensity that made my breath hitch slightly in my throat. You don't seem fine. Somehow it felt wrong for him to see through my facade so easily yet comforting all at once, like someone finally acknowledging my existence after being lost in shadows for too long. I just need some time to think. Ethan nodded slowly but didn't look away from me. Instead he leaned forward slightly as if wanting to bridge whatever gap lay between us again, the very gap we had danced around since our first kiss days ago. And then it happened. The doors swung open abruptly without warning, revealing James standing there with an expression frozen between shock and disbelief etched across his features. Grace. His voice boomed through the room like thunderclap breaking apart fragile glass around us, each shard falling into place revealing truths better left untouched. In that instant everything shifted, time slowed down while reality crashed upon us like waves crashing against jagged rocks, a collision inevitable yet devastating nonetheless. James's gaze flickered between Ethan and myself before landing squarely on our intertwined hands resting too close together on the bedspread, a telltale sign no amount of denial could hide anymore. What is going on here? His voice trembled slightly though anger bubbled just beneath surface ready to erupt at any moment, an explosion waiting only for spark-ignite flames raging uncontrollably onward consuming all within sight. I opened my mouth to speak but no words came forth, only silence filled with unspoken fears loomed larger than life-threatening engulf everything whole leaving nothing untouched by chaos unleashed. Ethan's eyes widened in realization. Panic flashed across his face as if suddenly aware consequences looming ahead would not merely affect us but ripple outward shaking foundations built over years threatening collapse altogether beneath weight carried far too long unacknowledged. Dad, Ethan started hesitantly but faltered under pressure mounting rapidly spiraling beyond control into unknown territory where no safe harbor awaited us anymore. As James took a step forward, the tension crackling like electricity hanging thickly around us, I knew there would be no turning back from this moment where choices made now would define futures ahead irrevocably altering paths taken thus far leading toward inevitable confrontation unfolding right before our eyes. The air in the room shifted, heavy with anticipation and dread. James stood there, his eyes wide with disbelief as he processed the scene before him. Ethan and I, caught in a moment that had spiraled out of control, now faced the consequences of our actions. Time seemed to freeze, every heartbeat echoing in the silence that enveloped us. Grace? James's voice broke through the tension, a mixture of confusion and hurt. My heart raced as I struggled to find words that could possibly explain this moment. I had spent so long feeling invisible in my marriage, and now here was my husband, staring at me as if I were a stranger. Dad, Ethan's voice trembled slightly, revealing a crack in his facade. The boy who had once looked up to James now stood on the precipice of a chasm between us all. His vulnerability hung in the air like an unspoken plea for understanding. Why? James's question was simple yet layered with pain. Why would you do this? He took another step forward, his expression shifting from shock to anger. The man who had always been my partner now felt like an adversary. I searched for answers but found only silence within myself. The thrill of our secret relationship faded into the background as reality crashed down around us. The festival outside continued its lively celebration, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within these four walls. It just happened, I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But deep down, I knew that wasn't entirely true. There had been moments, countless moments, where I had chosen this path over confronting my own discontentment. Didn't mean for what to happen? James pressed, his tone sharp. To betray your husband? To betray your family? Each word felt like a dagger aimed at my heart. Ethan shifted uncomfortably beside me, caught between loyalty and fear. Dad, No. This isn't about you. James interrupted sharply, his gaze never leaving mine. This is about her choice. The weight of his accusation hung heavy in the air, it felt like judgment and despair wrapped into one. I'm sorry, I said again, though it felt inadequate against the gravity of our situation. Sorry for what? For feeling alive? For seeking connection where I hadn't found it? My mind raced through all those moments shared with Ethan, the laughter, the stolen glances, and how they had blurred into something more significant than either of us could have anticipated. James's expression softened momentarily before hardening again with resolve. You need to leave, he said firmly to Ethan without looking at him directly. You need to go back home. No. I exclaimed instinctively, panic rising within me at the thought of sending Ethan away alone after everything that had just unfolded. He was still my stepson, he deserved support too amid this chaos. Grace, James warned softly but sternly as if trying to maintain control over an uncontrollable situation. This isn't about protecting him anymore. Ethan's eyes darted between us, one parent pleading for understanding while another demanded separation, and my heart twisted painfully at how we had come to this point, three people tangled in a web of emotions none of us were prepared for. I can't just let him go like this. I protested weakly but felt powerless against James's authority as a father figure looming large over both Ethan and me. It's not your decision anymore, he replied coldly before turning away from us completely. His back now facing our shared shame felt like an act of abandonment itself, a finality that left no room for negotiation or reconciliation. As he moved toward the door leading out into the hallway filled with laughter from festival-goers below, an ironic contrast against our broken family, I caught sight of Ethan's pained expression reflected back at me. Confusion mixed with betrayal swirling together within those youthful eyes still searching desperately for stability amidst turmoil they never asked for nor deserved. Dad. Ethan called out desperately once more but received only silence in response. James disappeared through the door without looking back, a man shattered by revelations he never anticipated facing head-on today. What do we do now? Ethan murmured quietly beside me after several moments passed between us filled only by uncertainty hanging thickly around us both. Regret seeped deeper than any words could express right then as reality settled heavily upon our shoulders like an unforgiving weight pressing down relentlessly until breathing became difficult amidst rising tensions threatening further rifts between us all. I don't know, I admitted at last because honesty felt necessary even when every single word tasted bitter on my tongue like ash left behind after fires burned brightly once upon a time before turning cold again leaving nothing but remnants behind. Just then, a loud knock echoed through the hotel room startling us both from our thoughts as if fate itself demanded attention now more than ever before when everything seemed lost already anyway. Grace. Open up. A familiar voice called urgently from outside. It was James again returning unexpectedly perhaps realizing too late what consequences awaited him beyond those doors. The sound sent chills racing down my spine while panic surged anew within me, What would happen next? Would he confront me again? Would this end everything we'd built together? Ethan looked at me wide-eyed, filled with fear, reflecting back at myself mirrored perfectly within those depths. Two souls trapped beneath shadows cast long ago, unable yet unwilling, still somehow searching desperately for light shining through cracks left behind. Mom. His voice trembled slightly, betraying emotions bubbling just beneath surface, waiting patiently, readying themselves for inevitable fallout looming dangerously close, threatening everything we held dear. And then came another knock, louder than before, accompanied by furious shouts demanding entry, now leaving no room left unturned, while hearts raced faster than ever imagined possible. Everything hung precariously balanced on edge, teetering uncertainly, waiting breathlessly, holding on to threads woven tightly together until finally unraveling completely, sending ripples cascading outward, forever altering destinies intertwined beyond recognition.